Miss Lonely Hearts. Well, at least that's something you'll never have to worry about.
Oh. You can see my apartment from here all the way up on 63rd Street?
No, not exactly, but we have a little apartment here that's probably about as popular as yours. You remember, of course, Miss Torso, the ballet dancer? She's like a queen bee with her pick of the drones.
Have you ever noticed how women just can't win when it comes to beauty? Wear makeup and you're fake? Skip it, and suddenly you've let yourself go. Somewhere along the way, society decided that women's beauty isn't really theirs. It's a performance, constantly judged and scrutinized. And the worst part? No matter what women do, someone always has something to say. This isn't just about makeup, it's about the male gaze, a long-standing belief that a woman's value is tied to how desirable men find her. Today we're unpacking the roots of this myth from Hollywood glamour to Instagram filters. Why has beauty always been framed as both a requirement and a deception? And most importantly, who actually benefits from keeping women trapped in this impossible standard? Chapter 1, the male gaze and the natural beauty trap. From the silver screen to social media, women's beauty has long been treated as something to be looked at, consumed, and judged. The problem isn't just that beauty is valued, it's that it's often seen as a performance rather than a personal choice. And the most dangerous part? The belief that a woman's appearance isn't really hers. It exists for others to admire, critique, or approve. This idea is deeply rooted in the male gaze, a term coined by film theorist Laura Mulvey in the 1970s. The male gaze describes how women in media, and by extension in society, are often positioned as objects of desire, existing primarily for the visual pleasure of a heterosexual man. Once you recognize it, you see it everywhere. Think about the countless slow-motion shots of women entering a room, the lingering camera focus on their lips or legs, the classic lipstick application close-up. Hollywood has trained us to view beauty through this lens for so long that we rarely question it. This is why transformation tropes are so common in movies. Beauty is presented as something that must be unlocked through refinement. Consider films like Grease, She's All That, The Princess Diaries, and Pretty Woman, where a woman only becomes desirable after taming her hair, ditching her glasses, or learning how to properly present herself. The message is clear. Beauty isn't just about looking good. It's about looking good in the way that men find attractive. This expectation also creates an exhausting double standard. Women are expected to be effortlessly beautiful, but if they try too hard, they're fake or deceiving. Wear no makeup, she's lazy or tired. Wear too much makeup, she's tricking people. The sweet spot, the illusion of natural beauty, what men think is effortless, but in reality it's often a meticulously curated look. The no makeup trend is a perfect example. Achieving it often requires 10 or more products, yet it's still perceived as authentic, while a full glam look is dismissed as inauthentic or excessive. It is kind of true, like you actually probably have to spend more to create the effortless no makeup look because the amount of procedures and skincare products to have glass skin would be very expensive and a lot of work, but then it seems more natural because you're not putting on as much makeup. And the irony is that the natural beauty ideal that men claim to love is rarely actually natural. Long lashes, plump lips, smooth skin are often the results of subtle enhancements, whether through skincare, makeup, or cosmetic procedures. Yet while men are allowed to age naturally, have uneven skin, or roll out of bed without a second thought, women are constantly scrutinized, expected to maintain beauty without ever being seen working for it. And it kind of reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where there's that person, I think Jerry's dating her, and she's like a two-face. In certain lighting she looks really bad and severe, and then on other lighting she looks really nice and glammed up. There almost is that like saying now, like, oh, she was a two-face, because sometimes you see a person without makeup and you don't recognize her, and then you see her with the makeup and she looks like a completely different person. And this pressure isn't just a cultural phenomenon, it has real consequences. Women have been taught that beauty isn't just an option, it's a currency that can grant them power, privilege, and social mobility. And yet, no matter how much time, effort, or money women invest in their appearance, they're always at the risk of being called out for doing it wrong. This is how the male gaze traps women into an impossible cycle. Beauty is required, but it must be effortless. You must be attractive, but but not too aware of your attractiveness. You should enhance your looks, but not so much that it's obvious. Nowhere is this contradiction more visible than in the world of social media. TikTok is filled with men exposing women's makeup transformations, calling them witchcraft or claiming them to be tricked by contour or false lashes. At the same time, the same people idolize celebrities and influencers whose faces are digitally altered, airbrushed, or enhanced with subtle procedures. The reality is, beauty standards have never been natural. They're always been shaped by trends, media, and technology. The difference is, women are shamed for participating in them, while men are free to consume the polished, perfected results. And it's true, I mean, if they're criticizing women that they go on dates with or whatever, and then are all shocked when they remove their makeup, it's like half the people that they think attractive online, like actresses, supermodels, are most likely doing the same thing with all the airbrushing and tons of makeup. So if women are actually being judged, whether they wear makeup or not, who is beauty really for? And more importantly, who benefits from keeping women trapped in this impossible standard? The answer might surprise you. Chapter 2, a look back when beauty became an obligation. Throughout history, beauty has never just been a matter of personal expression. It has been a societal expectation, often dictated by cultural and political forces of the time. Women's appearances have always been shaped by external pressures, reflecting not just aesthetic ideals, but also deeper values about femininity, morality, and status. What was considered beautiful in one era could become shameful or rebellious in the next, proving that beauty standards were never really about women's desires alone. They are about how society, particularly men, expected women to present themselves. Take the 18th century, for example. In the courts of Europe, beauty was directly tied to class and power. Aristocratic women wore elaborate white face powder, often made of toxic lead, to achieve a pale, porcelain complexion that signaled wealth, because only the rich could afford to stay indoors, while the lower classes toiled under the sun. Beauty was a performance of status, with painted-on beauty marks, extravagant wigs, and lavish gowns serving as markers of refinement. But beauty's association with power was also its downfall. After the French Revolution, those same symbols of aristocratic excess, pale powdered faces, heavy cosmetics, and extravagant dress became linked to vanity and corruption. The fashionable look of the nobility suddenly became a dangerous liability, and women who had once been admired for their pristine appearances were now condemned for embodying the decadence of the old regime. Fast forward to the 1920s, and beauty took on a new rebellious edge. Flappers, the cultural icons of the Jazz Age, rejected the hyper-feminine corseted look of previous decades. They chopped off their hair into daring bobs, lined their eyes with kohl, and painted their lips in deep shades of red, a dramatic departure from the natural look that had been idolized in years earlier. Makeup, which had been previously associated with actresses and sex workers, was now embraced by young women as a symbol of independence and modernity. But this newfound beauty freedom didn't last. The social progress of the 20s was met with backlash in the following decades, particularly after World War II, when society pushed women back into the traditional domestic roles. By the 1950s, beauty was no longer just a fashion statement, it was a duty. As men returned from the war and society reinforced the image of the nuclear family, the ideal woman was expected to be the perfect housewife, dedicated to her husband, children, and home. Beauty standards reflected the shift. Unlike the rebellious flappers of the 20s or the working women of the 40s, the 1950s woman was expected to be meticulously groomed at all times, with perfectly curled hair, red lips, and manicured nails. Beauty wasn't just about looking good, it was about fulfilling a role. Advertisements from the era blatantly reinforced this message, telling women that their appearance was not just for their own pleasure, but a responsibility to their husbands. From Ladies' Home Journal to television commercials, women were encouraged to keep their husbands interested by staying youthful, fresh, and attractive. Even as beauty standards evolved, the underlying expectation remained the same. Women's appearances were never truly their own, whether it was the powdered aristocrats of the 18th century, the flappers of the 20s, or the housewives of the 50s. Beauty ideals were always shaped by a broader societal force, often beyond women's control. And the male gaze didn't just dictate how women should look, it also determined why they should care about their looks in the first place. While today's beauty trends may seem different, the pressure remains eerily similar. The modern clean girl aesthetic, with its emphasis on minimal and natural-looking beauty, echoes past ideals of effortless perfection. Meanwhile, social media continues to reinforce the idea that women's worth is intrinsically tied to how they present themselves to the world. So the question remains, has anything really changed? And it is true, like let's say if I showed up to a job interview and had like no makeup on, like breakouts, like no mascara, like I feel like people would judge me and be like, well, she didn't take the time to like put on makeup. It's almost, if you're not wearing makeup, people equated to like, she's not dressed properly for the interview, she didn't comb her hair. You know what I mean? It's interesting that way. Chapter 3, the makeup is a lie debate and who it really benefits. The idea that makeup is a form of deception is nothing new. For centuries, society has oscillated between celebrating beauty enhancements and condemning them as manipulative or unnatural. But in recent years, fueled by the rise of social media and influencer culture, a new narrative has emerged, one that suggests women who wear makeup are lying about their real appearance. TikTok, YouTube, and Reddit are filled with reaction videos of men exposing the transformation power of makeup, often implying that women who wear foundation, contour, and false lashes are hiding their true selves. This belief isn't just about makeup, it's about the deeper societal expectations that a woman's beauty should be effortless, but still exist within a narrow standard of acceptability. The makeup is deception argument hinges on the idea that women should be attractive without appearing to try. It's the same contradiction we've seen throughout history. Women must look good, but not in a way that suggests they put effort into it. The irony is that the same men who accuse women of tricking them with makeup rarely question other forms of personal enhancement. If makeup is deceptive, then so is a well-tailored suit that makes a man's frame look sharper, a beard that defines the jawline, or a strategic gym routine designed to bulk up certain areas while hiding others. Yet these are rarely scrutinized in the same way. And why? Because when men make aesthetic choices to appear more attractive, it's seen as an improvement. But when women do the same, it's often seen as being dishonest. The hypocrisy becomes even more glaring when you look at the entertainment industry. The same men who ridicule women for wearing too much makeup are often the ones consuming content filled with digitally altered, airbrushed, and surgically enhanced women. The actors, models, and influencers they admire have access to personal trainers, dermatologists, cosmetic procedures, professional stylists, all contributing to the illusion of effortless beauty. Meanwhile, women who use contour, false lashes, or foundation to achieve a similar effect are accused of faking their appearance. And the reality is, the natural beauty that men claim to prefer is often anything but natural. It's just a more subtle form of enhancement. This conversation has resurfaced in a major way with Pamela Anderson's recent decision to go makeup-free. As someone who became an icon of 90s beauty, Pamela was synonymous with the heavily made-up, ultra-glamorous look, overlined lips, dramatic smoky eyes, and her signature bleach blonde hair. But now she's making headlines for doing the exact opposite, stepping out in public, including at major fashion events completely barefaced. Her choice has been widely discussed, with some praising her for embracing aging naturally, while others claim that it's brave and even shocking. I remember some Facebook posts came up randomly, and it was a photo of Pamela Anderson without makeup, and I was looking at the comments, and all the negative ones were from men being like, oh, that's horrible. She should wear makeup. She looks awful. She's not attractive anymore. She's like over the hill and stuff. I thought it was kind of rude. And Pamela's decision highlights just how deeply ingrained beauty expectations are. Why should it be shocking that a woman chooses to go without makeup? And why is it seen as an act of rebellion when a woman who was once a sex symbol decides to reject the very beauty standards that made her famous? Her bare face became a statement, whether she intended it to be or not, because we live in a world where women's appearances are always up for debate. Pamela Anderson wears a full face of makeup, she's seen as clinging to youth. If she chooses to go without, she's making a political statement. Either way, she isn't just allowed to exist, she has to be interpreted. Technology has also amplified these double standards. AI-generated beauty filters, Instagram face tuning, and Photoshop edits have created an unattainable ideal. Yet, while women are constantly criticized for using these tools, the industries that profit from them, beauty brands, social media platforms, Hollywood studios continue to thrive. And the myth that makeup is a lie doesn't actually serve men, nor does it protect women from unrealistic beauty standards. It only benefits the billion-dollar beauty and entertainment industries that capitalize on women feeling like they can never get it just right. At the end of the day, the debate over makeup being fake is less about honesty and more about control. It's about dictating the terms of how women should look while conveniently ignoring the fact that beauty standards, no matter how natural they appear, are always carefully constructed. Whether a woman chooses to wear full glam or go completely barefaced like Pamela Anderson, she's being placed under a microscope, her choice dissected and debated. So the real question is, if women are being called deceptive for wearing makeup, who is actually being deceived? Women who enjoy makeup as a form of self-expression, or people who refuse to acknowledge that beauty itself has always been an illusion carefully shaped by society. And I also feel like, let's say if I was filming this video and I chose not to wear any makeup at all, I feel like I would get a lot of negative comments. I mean, obviously not by like people who actually enjoy my content, but there would be a lot of trolls, because I've had people say negative things in the past. Like, let's say if I'm wearing too much eyeshadow, or they don't like the way my eyeshadow looks, or I've had people accuse me of even wearing a wig. So like people, especially online, they can just like be keyboard warriors and say horrible things and judge you either way, so you actually can't win. And chapter 4, who is beauty really for? For as long as beauty standards have existed, women had been told that their appearance is not just a reflection of themselves, but something meant to be judged, consumed, and controlled by others. But here's the truth. Beauty has never been just about looking good for someone else. While makeup and fashion have often been tied to patriarchal expectations, they have also been powerful tools of self-expression, creativity, and rebellion. Throughout history, beauty has been both a constraint and a weapon. In some cases, women have been forced into beauty standards to conform to societal expectations, whether it was the corsets of the 19th century, the meticulously groomed housewives of the 50s, or today's airbrush Instagram aesthetic. But in other cases, women have reclaimed beauty, using it as a way to express their identity and push against conventional norms. Just look at the subcultures like goths, punks, or drag performers. None of them are wearing makeup to trick men. They're wearing it as a statement, a way to define themselves in their own terms. Consider how beauty has been used politically and socially. In the 70s feminist movement, some women rejected makeup altogether, viewing it as a tool of male oppression. But at the same time, Black and Chicana feminist groups embraced bold statement makeup, red lipstick, wing eyeliner, and perfectly styled hair as a way to assert power in a world that is often sought to erase their beauty. In the 1990s Riot Girl movement, women reclaimed femininity while still being rebellious, sporting bright red lips, messy eyeliner as both an aesthetic choice and a rejection of male validation. And in modern times, the rise of e-girls, K-pop aesthetic, and maximalist beauty trends proves that makeup is often worn not to attract men, but to participate in a cultural or creative movement. Even for everyday makeup wearers, the decision to wear makeup isn't necessarily about seeking male approval. Many women apply it simply because they enjoy the artistry, because it makes them feel more confident, or because it's fun. There is power in using beauty on your own terms. Whether it's a full face of glam, a bold avant-garde look, or going completely barefaced, the most radical thing a woman can do is make beauty a choice rather than an obligation. So the next time someone claims that women only look good because of makeup, or that beauty is somehow fake if it requires effort, ask yourself, who benefits from that belief? The truth is that people who push these narratives aren't protecting women from unrealistic beauty standards. They are reinforcing them. If beauty is an illusion, it's an illusion that has been carefully constructed by society. And the only people who should have a say in how women present themselves are women themselves. Chapter 5, the future of beauty and the end of the male gaze. For centuries, beauty has been shaped by the gaze of others, whether dictated by men, the media, or unattainable societal norms. But something is shifting. Women aren't just breaking beauty standards, they're questioning why they exist in the first place. Think about the past few years. Pamela Anderson ditching makeup at Paris Fashion Week wasn't just a personal choice, it was a statement. The world was shocked that a woman who had once been the epitome of a 90s bombshell beauty would suddenly reject the very thing that made her famous. But that shock speaks volume. Why do we expect women to either maintain their looks forever or dramatically reject them? Why is a woman's face always seen as a public statement rather than just a face? And it's not just Pamela. Look at the rise of the ugly beauty trends. Bleached brows, minimal foundation, bold smudge eyeliner that looks like you've been crying in a gas station bathroom at 2 a.m. This is the euphoria makeup look. The fashion industry is playing the idea that beauty can be unsettling, imperfect, even grotesque. Meanwhile, Gen Z is embracing maximalist self-expression, not for men, not even for traditional femininity, but as a form of aesthetic rebellion. These trends echo past movements of the 20s flappers, who chopped off their hair, 1970s feminists who rejected makeup altogether, the 1990s riot girls who wore messy eyeliner as a middle finger to the beauty industry. But the real revolution, women are learning to detach their self-worth from their looks altogether. together. For decades, we've been told that beauty is power, but that's only true in a world where women are valued for their appearance above all else. Now we're seeing a cultural shift where beauty is optional. It can be fun, it can be artistic, it can be experimental, but it doesn't have to be a defining feature of a woman's worth. This is terrifying for industries that profit from insecurity. Billion-dollar beauty brands rely on women's feelings just imperfect enough to keep buying. The male gaze depends on women wanting to be admired. Even social media apps thrive on filters that keep us chasing an ever-shifting ideal. If women start seeing beauty as something they control rather than something they perform, what happens next? Maybe for the first time in history, we'll stop asking, who's beauty really for? Because the answer will be clear. It's for us and only us. For centuries, beauty has been more than just a personal choice. It's been a societal expectation, a performance, and at times a requirement for women to be seen, valued, or taken seriously. Whether it's the male gaze shaping what's considered attractive, the beauty industry profiting from our insecurities, or the impossible double standards that tell women to be effortlessly beautiful while never appearing to try too hard. One thing has always been clear. Beauty has never just been about women. It's about control. But what happens when women take control back? We've already seen glimpses of it. Pamela Anderson choosing to go barefaced in an industry obsessed with perfection, beauty trends that reject conventional attractiveness, and a growing cultural shift where women aren't just redefining beauty, they're detaching their self-worth from it altogether. The revolution isn't just rejecting beauty standards, it's recognizing that we never owed anyone beauty in the first place. Whether we wear makeup, go natural, experiment with bold looks, or embrace aging exactly as we are, the only person who should have a say in how we represent ourselves is us. So the next time someone says women only look good because of makeup, or questions whether beauty is real or fake, ask yourself who benefits from that belief. And more importantly, why should we care what they think? Because at the end of the day, beauty should be a choice, not an expectation, not a performance, and certainly not a requirement. And maybe the most radical, revolutionary thing we can do is decide once and for all that we don't need permission to exist exactly as we are. So what are your thoughts on this? Like, do you have days where you just don't wear makeup to work? Or, I mean, there's a lot of times on the weekends where I'll take a break from wearing makeup, and like I'll go to the grocery store and stuff without makeup, in the gym, stuff like that. But like obviously when I go to work, I'll put on like foundation and mascara. But I do enjoy putting on foundation and mascara and stuff like that. It's not like I'm doing it because I feel forced to appease other people. I just genuinely like doing it. So, but I do get annoyed when men say like, oh, she was a two-face, oh, she looks so different without makeup on. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this topic. All right, thanks for watching.